On November 6th, 2025, for our last ever Stranger Things Day, we got the first 5 minutes of Stranger Things 5, and it was insane. They made it into a whole event, a premiere with all the cast there, and doing interviews and fan giveaways and trivia questions with fans. But obviously, the main event was the first 5 minutes, and it was insane. And it's made us appreciate just how much Will struggles in the Upside Down, and I just feel so sorry for him. So, of course, we've got to talk about it on this channel. I have a feeling that this video is going to be the shortest on my channel because there's not too much to unpick, but there's still enough that I want to make a video out of it. And at the end of the analysis, I will be moving on to some things said on the red carpet that hint towards season 5 and maybe some Byler mentions as well. So if you're not interested in that, then obviously finish the video once I finish the analysis of the first 5 minutes. So, as we knew from a script released a while ago, the first 5 minutes, the first scene of Strange Things is Will singing Should I Stay or Should I Go in the Upside Down. We open on him just after Ella's communicated with him in the void and he tells her to hurry and to send Joyce quickly. And it's just super exciting because this is probably the point that we know least about from his time in the Upside Down. Obviously, there's so many unanswered questions about his time in the Upside Down, but from when he was in Castle Byers, his safe place, to when he was taken to the library, we don't know how that happens, but obviously, officially now we do. I've seen that they've decided to use the weird CGI that they used with Elle in season 4, and I'm not vibing with it. I'm just gonna say that right now. He looks more like a young Elijah Wood than Noah Schnapp, but I'm willing to suspend some disbelief. I just kind of wish that they do just a child without CGI on the face because I think it makes it look weirder. But saying that, I absolutely can't wait to see more of Will in the Upside Down because I can't wait to see more of his story unleashed and more of the reasoning of why he was chosen, what his experience was, and why he could control the letter lights that Joyce put up and spell run. And then the Demogorgon finds him in Castle Byers. This begs the question why he wasn't found before. If the Demogorgon is, he seemed to pretty easily find him in Castle Byers. So this makes me think that they were waiting, the Demogorgon and Vecna, because it's clear from the Demogorgon's sometimes calm nature that it's taking orders from Vecna, and that they wanted to wait for a very specific time to take Will. Maybe when he was weakened to a point, maybe Vecna had a specific plan and it had to be on this specific day. Also, Will tries to shoot the Demogorgon, which I love so much because I love when we see him try to shoot it in the very first episode of season 1. But it did make me think he still has his gun, and if he was directly taken by Vecna to the Upside Down, wouldn't Vecna take the gun away from him? So I think he might have somehow been forced to transport there without seeing Vecna into the Upside Down in order for him to keep his gun. Or it could be that Vecna let him keep his gun to pretend that he's safe and to give him some semblance of control to make Will feel better and to make him feel stronger, and perhaps use this as a point to Will of why they should join forces because according to Vecna he was always trying to keep Will safe and he just wanted them to fight together. And at this point, Will still had his walkie talkie because we can see he has his backpack on his back. And obviously, these boys carry their walkie talkies everywhere. That's quickly established. So I think this shows that the walkie talkie doesn't work in the Upside Down to the real world because otherwise he would have used that first. And the last thing I noticed about the scene is there's only one Demogorgon. Now we know there's so many Demogorgons, Demodogs, Demobats. It's a much wider scale of an army. So obviously Vecna has built this army up. So whether it's just his efforts or whether Will played a part in building up more Demogorgons and Demodogs, because I would say it's implied that Will helped to create the Upside Down by making it into Hawkins from the day he disappeared. So I don't think that saying that he might have helped to create more Demodogs and Demogorgons is a wild suggestion. And then Will runs away from the Demogorgon, but the Demogorgon is significantly slower than what we see in season 5. So the Demogorgons have obviously gained power as Vecna has gained power, and maybe a bit of power from Will, as we know there's some sort of connection between him and all of the Upside Down. He is part of the hive mind. And then Will climbs up the tree. The tree is perfectly designed to climb up, so that might have been a practical decision from filming purposes. It might have been easier. Or again, Vecna might have specifically designed ways of Will escaping to give him a sense of control and to lull him into a false sense, not security, because he's never going to feel secure in the Upside Down, but that he has authority over the Demogorgon and that he can at least save himself for a bit. And him jumping between the trees, obviously we've seen from the trailer, and it was so cool to place that in context. But him getting attached to the tree by his backpack and then falling off it, and that being what takes him out rather than the Demogorgon, was heartbreaking, because he has tried so hard for all this week to stay away, and that is what gets him in the end. And then the Demogorgon drags Will to the library. Again, Demogorgons are hunters. They don't act this calmly if they're not told. The Demogorgon was obviously ordered by Vecna to transport Will to the library, because otherwise the Demogorgon would have just killed him straight away, like they did with Barb. Barb wasn't useful, but Will is useful. They have a reason for him, and it needs to be specifically him. And that's a question that I'm almost certain is going to be answered in season 5. So I think we'll just have to wait and see, because it's really hard to speculate that reason. It might be because Will is so similar to Henry, or because he's surrounded by so much love that they're always going to save him and always going to prioritize him. And that helps Vecna build up the Upside Down. Or it might be for a completely different reason. And also, Demogorgons being calm, I think, might be utilized in season 5, because we know there's so many of them now. And as Will has this connection to the Upside Down, and it's been repeatedly told to us that this connection is going to be really important in season 5, he might find a way to control the hive mind and make them all calm and act under his orders, and perhaps become part of their side and fight against Vecna and the Mind Flayer, which would be really interesting, especially because in season 2 we got a glimpse of how a Demodog in D'Artagnan would work if they were friends with their party. And then we have clips from the previous trailer of the library and Vecna coming towards Will in the library after the Demogorgon has pulled Will into the library. This shows that the library is going to be very significant. They could have chosen anywhere in Hawkins, but they chose the library, the place where all 4 rifts connect. The library is obviously very important in some way. It's specifically chosen to house Will. It's not particularly important to Will or Vecna, as we can see in Henry's backstory. So I don't really know how this is explained at the moment. My current theory is that maybe because that's a storing place of knowledge, and knowledge works against Vecna. So Vecna wants to try and keep this safe and keep anyone from potentially taking him down. But then in season 4, he changes his base to the Creel house rather than the library. And this might just be because they hadn't figured out that the Creel house was a thing at that point. But they could have mentioned in season 4, or made it the case that Vecna's like home base was the library. So something must have happened between season 1 and season 4. Perhaps Vecna getting more powerful meant that he could re-enter his house and he's figured out that he can get power from the source of his trauma, which a lot of it happened at his house. And perhaps in the Upside Down, he goes back to the place that he was taking a Dimension X to restore some of his power in that way. And then Will is being pulled up by the vines, and Vecna says, "At long last, we can begin." It's always been Will. Will was chosen for a specific reason. This is evident that he's been spying on Will all this time, waiting for the perfect moment to take him, which I'm very curious why this specifically was the perfect moment. And Vecna knows that Hopper and Joyce will look for him and will take him, and will take him back to the real world. He wants him to be found. He doesn't want him to die like he did in season 1, but got resurrected. He wants to send him to the real world to be his spy. Then Vecna puts the vine down Will's throat. This was so disturbing to watch, and it just made me realise literally how much Will has been through at such a young age. Now we know this isn't how Will got possessed, because we see how he gets possessed in season 2. So sending these Mind Flayer style particles into Will isn't for that. I think this is establishing the connection specifically between Vecna and Will, because Will gets his true sight after season 2. So that is a result of the possession. And I think even though this bit is only really noticeable in season 3, I think it could maybe be dormant and Will didn't notice it because of being kidnapped and being possessed. But I think this is establishing the connection that Will feels on the back of his neck, because I think it would be a very Vecna move to establish it as that position, because that is the position that Henry had his chip in the lab and limits his powers. So perhaps Vecna is using that to limit Will's powers and keeping them safe for a time where Vecna can utilize them. And then Vecna says, "You and I, we're going to do such beautiful things together, William." We've heard this. Well, we haven't heard this, but we've seen this in promo before as leaks, perhaps. But it was so exciting to actually hear it. And it's just made me so, so excited for season 5 and how Will is going to fare, because we know it's not good. I was hoping that we might get Will waking up from this nightmare, and that would confirm whether he is staying in Mike's basement or Mike's room, because for Byler shippers, that's very important. And now I want to move on to the red carpet section of the premiere last night, and all the things from the interviews that I think are interesting towards season 5. I was up at between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. watching this because it was so long, which I guess is a premiere, but I was so tired by the end of it. But it was kind of worth it because we got some really good answers. So Jake Connolly, who plays Derek, confirmed that his character is a bully, but he only bullies people to hide his own insecurities and prevent himself getting bullied, which I think is a really interesting swing on the bully, especially for how they were perceived and presented in season 1 and even season 2. And then Nell Fisher, who plays Holly, got on the red carpet, and she said that Holly is really smart and insightful and can understand the upside down very well, which is very Mike and Nancy to me. And it's going to be really interesting to see how she deals with the upside down for the first time, especially because she is going to be absolutely thrown into it after not knowing it's a thing at all. And she also confirmed by her favourite on-set memory of Millie teaching a bunch of the kids to dance to Please, 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 which that was such a cool anecdote, that Holly and Elle have a scene together. This could be at the end when I assume that they're all together, because that's what Stranger Things usually does. They bring all the groups together in the finale. And obviously we know that Elle's storyline, a lot is on her own. So that could be very much the case, I think. And then Brett was saying that Murray has a lot of depth to him. So we might see this a bit more in season 5, perhaps. And maybe he's shown to be more than just the comedic relief. And then the most exciting comment of the whole night, in my opinion, was Sean Levy. He was speaking about the recent season and all the actors, and he only singled out Finn and Noah. He said that Finn had to carry a lot of weight and that Noah had to carry a lot of emotional weight for this season. And we know that Sean really loves Byler and has directed a lot of the crucial Byler scenes in the past. And there's so many photos, if you look on Tumblr, of him just being Byler's dad, which I love so much. But why would he single both of those two out if they had just completely stayed platonic and it was going to stay the same as it was with Elle and Mike together? Like, that doesn't make sense. And because so much of season 5 is not only pinned on Will's supernatural arc, but on his emotional arc, that storyline between Mike and Will is going to be so important. And by Sean pointing out how much work both of them had to do, that just tells me that it's going to be requited, in my opinion. And then Noah came on the red carpet, and this is also very exciting. He said that he's got in trouble on the promo tour. And if you didn't know, someone asked him if Byler gets together, and he said we would be satisfied. He was about to say happy, but then he caught himself and said satisfied. So I think that this could be what he got in trouble for. And this to me further confirms that we are going to get Byler and they are going to be together. He also said that we're going to get answered why Will was taken to the Upside Down, which I'm so pleased about. And then Finn on the red carpet said that there was stuff in the trailer which he was surprised were included in the trailer. So I wonder what he means by that. And then Winona said that she's been able to hang out with all the kids this season. So I'm assuming she has a scene with all of the core four, at least like separately. It might not be all of them together, but I just love to see her interacting with the core four, and I can't wait to see those scenes. So that was my rundown of the first 5 minutes of Stranger Things 5 and the red carpet event surrounding it. If you guys noticed anything else, please do comment below because this is only my point of view and I'm really interested to see your guys' point of view about the first 5 minutes and about what was said on the red carpet for what it might hint to in Stranger Things 5. And another thing I would like to say is I would love to keep this channel spoiler free. We can talk about anything officially released, but as we see audiences see the first episode, I would really love to keep my channel a spoiler free section until it's officially released on November 27th. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!